What's up, Drop Pod listeners? As always, you can listen to the Drop Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Pods. We're excited to announce that we're now on Amazon Music, Audible, and Pandora as well. New episodes drop every Wednesday. You can also find all of our content on YouTube at the Drop Golf Podcast and on all of our socials. That's Instagram and Twitter at the Drop_pod. No matter how you consume us, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. Follow and listen along.
This episode is presented by the Law Office of Mallon and Tranger. Tom Mallon and Randy Tranger are board-certified trial attorneys who share more than 40 years of legal experience. They specialize in personal injury matters, workers' compensation cases, and criminal and municipal defense. As certified trial attorneys, they have recovered millions of dollars on behalf of people injured in accidents and employees injured at work. They have offices conveniently located in Freehold and Point Pleasant. For skilled and personalized legal representation, call Mallon and Tranger at 732-780-0230 or check out their website at tmallonlaw.com. Not only are they good people, they're good golfers too. This is the Drop Podcast where we talk golfing in the Garden State. I'm Mike Poro, and this is Ryan Kulot.
What's going on, everyone? How we doing? Mike, we're coming off a big week last week. We had a huge guest on, the voice of golf for NBC, Dan Hicks. He was absolutely awesome. If you have not listened to that episode yet, stop here, go back, listen to that episode, and then make sure you come back because this is also going to be another doozy for us.
I just want to reiterate that the feedback that everybody sent to us regarding getting a guy like Dan Hicks to come on our show, just to come on, nonetheless, the Wednesday before the Players was just unbelievable. You know, as we said last week, Dan's a great guy. He's a great follow. Again, take Ryan's advice. Stop this, pause it, go back, check it out. You won't be disappointed.
Speaking of not being disappointed, you are not going to be disappointed in today's episode either. Another huge guest for us. We have the famous, the CBS Inside the Ropes reporter, and former LPGA Tour pro, Dottie Pepper on. Dottie was absolutely lovely. She was incredible. It was awesome. Mike, we've continued to talk about it. I am blown away time after time after time how great the golf community is for us. We chatted about her newest book, Letters to a Future Champion, Inside the Rope stuff. We talked about her nomination for the World Golf Hall of Fame. It was amazing being, we do these on Zoom, but it was amazing being in her presence. It's awesome. So as I said, again, another case of just the golf community just being awesome and amazing and all those other adjectives that you can use to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, some of the stories that Dottie shared about being inside the ropes, they're just must listen tos. I mean, again, like those stories are ones that we can't come up with, we can't make up, and she saw them, lived them firsthand. And then just her book. I mean, I know, we talked at length about her book, but for anybody that's looking for something to read, especially with the spring and the summertime coming up, listen, Letters to a Future Champion, Dottie's time with Mr. Pulver, it's a must read. There's so many amazing nuggets in there to just better off yourself and your golf game. So seriously, go check it out.
Yeah, so back-to-back huge guests for us, national guests for us. So another must listen. So make sure you stick around for this episode. Mike, we're talking on March 15th today, and we released our Selection Sunday brackets last Sunday with Selection Sunday. I'm really excited about this. This was a lot of fun, and it's been a while in the works. We've been doing the 21 courses, 21 counties. We did all that research over the winter and put that enormous list together. And I know some people were making fun of us, giving us a hard time about 21 counties, 72 courses, or whatever it was. But that ultimately helped us put this list together. So let me give you the scoop here. We released those brackets on Sunday. This episode's coming out on Wednesday. Tomorrow, Thursday, the first day of the NCAA tournament, at noon, we're going to release the North bracket. That'll go from noon on Thursday on our Instagram stories where you guys can vote until it'll expire 24 hours. So that'll be Friday at noon. Then at Friday at noon, we're going to release the South matchups. You'll have 24 hours to vote. That'll go till Saturday at noon. Then we're going to chat about it. We'll recap it. On Wednesday, we'll post the updated bracket, and we'll do the same thing the following Thursday and Friday. And we'll do that all the way for the Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final 4, get all the way to the championship. That's kind of the idea here. I started with it, and I want to end with it. This is not the top golf courses in New Jersey. I want to put that caveat out there. This is our list from our 21 courses, 21 counties that we put in the random wheel selector. That's how we got our top 16 at both. That's how we got the matchups. This is randomly selected, not our... Mike and I didn't discuss the matchups or the brackets or anything like that. This is all coming from that list. Are some of these courses in the top of New Jersey? Sure. Are some of the matchups mismatchupped? Mismatchup? Yeah, we'll go with it. It sounds like a word to me. Sure. Herring Glen and Neshannock probably shouldn't be playing in the first round. But again, it's a random wheel selector that we went with. And that's how the wheel spins. We're gonna abide by the wheel. So that's what we got here. We're gonna crown a champion, and I'm excited to. And I'm excited to play the course that is the champion. I'm excited to play all the courses, but I think that's what we'll do. Whoever's champion, that should be our first course for the year.
Yeah, listen, I love the randomness of it, and I know the audience may say they don't. But I like the idea that we stuck with our 21 counties and 21 courses because, we spent a long time, you and I, discussing these spots. We brought Orson on, who is probably the New Jersey golf guru of playing all these spots. So we did our research and our homework and finding spots that we have not played that we want to play. And then again, when we found the top 32 out of that long list of our 21 and 21, the wheel selected where teams played. And listen, it's not going to be for everybody, and we get it, but it's just going to be another fun way for us to promote the amazing golf that we have here in New Jersey. And obviously, just as disclaimers that we put out that you mentioned, Rye, it's the same thing here with this one. There are some courses that you may look on the public side that you say should be in there. But the reality is that we've played some of them. We're very, very familiar with them. And this is going to lead us right into April 1st when we all can start posting scores, getting on the golf course, and where are we attacking first. And that's ultimately what our thought process is with it. May it not be the first course we play? Maybe. But that's our goal here. It's like if Herring Glen wins the whole damn thing, well, we're packing our bags, we're heading north, and we're going to Herring Glen. Like that's a thought process here with all these golf courses. And it is going to be an exciting thing because you, the audience, get to vote on Instagram. So again, if you don't follow us, as Ryan always mentions in the beginning, head over to Instagram, pause the episode, type in _pod, and then click that blue follow button because, again, that's where all these stories will be posted so you get your votes in. And then that's where we are going to look to head out to play. And listen, I can't wait. And again, I guess another disclaimer we could toss in there, right, is that all these places are public. Like, we understand that the privates of the world aren't on here. But no offense, Ryan and I don't have those privileges to go jump on a private course whenever we want. It's not happening, people. So we've got to find the spots where we can get onto, just like the general public. So again, I think our list is solid. I think some of the matchups that came out are definitely interesting because you probably could see some of these courses playing later on in the tournament than first round. Yeah. But sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles, and that's what it is. And to be the best, you got to beat the best. So it's perfect. Beat them first or beat them last. Let's see how it goes.
You're gonna have to beat them somewhere for sure. I mentioned the Neshannock Herring Glen. I think that's an Elite 8 matchup at worst. But the randomness, as you said, I like that we did it random. It takes our bias out of there, which some people would comment on for better or worse. And again, this is I think a fun way to do it If we decide that it sucked next year, we'll change it.
I got a question for you.
What's the question? Talk to me.
I got a question for you. I mean, so obviously the brackets came out on Sunday or today. It's Wednesday of this podcast. Do you have a winner? Like who's your winner? If you look at this bracket, maybe who's your sleeper? Like give me some insight as to like when you look at this now, and then as we continue throughout this process, because no offense, like you can't be taking the Shannock Valley to win the whole damn thing. Mm-hmm. They could get upset first round. So give me your winner and give me your sleeper, because I'm dying to know. Because when the list came out, I know where my eyes immediately went to. On the winner, who I think is going to win, and the sleeper that I think just may come out of the woodshed and say, wham bam, here I am.
That bottom corner of the North bracket with Balliol and Herring Glen and Neshannock and Mercer Oaks is a bear. The North bracket with Mercer Oaks, Balliol, and Herring Glen and Neshannock in the bottom of that is a absolute bear. Whoever's coming out of that quadrant is probably going to make a run. But that doesn't answer your question.
It does not. I want to know your winner, and I want to know your sleeper. Because mine are locked in and loaded, ready to go. Are you sick of the same old golf attire, boring shirts, hats, and belts that really don't match your style? Check out Fluke Apparel Company. It's coastal-inspired golf gear. Customers have been raving about the quality and performance of their products, from the local weekend golfer all the way to the PGA Tour. Visit flukeapparelco.com and use code DROP to save 20% at checkout. You won't be disappointed. I wouldn't even mind knowing your championship bracket. Like who's your championship? Who's in your finals? Who's in the finals? Who's your winner? Who's your sleeper? Like I want to know. I want to know where you're at.
Well, Mike, let's do a little thinking on air here. Let's fill these out and post them so the public has them, so that we can say, "Hey, we're filled out." Having played Balliol and again, I think that's the nicest course of all these courses that I've seen. Again, haven't seen Skyway, haven't seen Rock Springs, hasn't seen Wild Turkey, and I'm looking at the North. The North bracket currently is up on my screen here. I think that again haven't played Herring Glen. I just think that Balliol is gonna take the cake. I really do. I think it's so good. We've had so many people talk about it. I can't imagine it doesn't make a run. And again, talking about that bottom bracket, I think that's who's coming out and making the Elite Eight from that quadrant there. I'd have to think that it beats those others in the middle. Maybe Rock Spring gives it a run in the Final Four, or the Final Four. Maybe Rock Spring gives it a run. I think that's my North final. Rock Spring, Balliol. Who do you like? You want to break down?
Who's your sleeper? Who's your sleeper? Who can you see like, maybe they're gonna ruffle some feathers here?
I kind of want to say Skyway, and I know it makes it seem like it's the number one because it's at the top there. But I feel like it's a little bit of a sleeper because it's only 9 holes. So it's not a true 18-hole course, and isn't that the only one on here that's only 9 holes? Does that consider it a sleeper because we've talked about it so much and we really want to play it and all that stuff? I don't know if it's a sleeper. So I don't know. And then I can't speak for like Galloping Hill make a run or Mountain View make a run. Both courses I don't know about. I've never played. So I don't know. To define sleeper I think would be tough, especially in this format we got going on here. Well, what do you got? Who's your initial thoughts without really giving it a whole lot of thought here? Last point to cut you off. That's the North without even really looking at the South bracket.
Yeah, when I looked at it, and obviously I am like obsessive in terms of looking at things and breaking it all down. To me, the South is the quote maybe easier of the two. Because I definitely think the North can be loaded in terms of some of those courses, and I want to call them squads as if they're basketball teams. But, when I start at the South, because maybe I live down here in the South, and, it seems to, the way the wheel worked out, some of these places are more in my neck of the woods. Like, I'm saying, I think the winner of the South ends up being Ballamore.
Okay.
And I know people are going to be like, well, that you say Ballamore because last week you said that was your number one public golf course that you played since. Okay, fine. Listen, but when I look at the bracket, I still have to make a selection. To me, Ballamore gets out of the South and they end up winning that side of the bracket. Now, my sleeper in the South side that I think could potentially make a little bit of a run here, okay, is Running Deer. I think Running Deer, there's some connections. I think there's a lot of voters that may like Running Deer that listen to the podcast. Like, Running Deer is my sleeper in the South, but if you're asking me to pick one, I'm taking Ballamore coming out of the South. Now, when I head up to the north.
Because I just cut you off. The one that I think could make a little bit of a run, that I just cut you off for a minute ago, would be Riverwinds. And I know that that's contradictory to where, they'd have to beat your Ballamore, but that was my when I had gone and looked at it, that was one that's gotten a lot of traction but doesn't get talked about. Like, people kind of mention it offhand, or like, we haven't really talked about Riverwinds, but that's one to me that I think could make a little run. Yeah,
so I totally can see it's another spot that, there's certain golf holes that people have talked highly about, and that is a spot that I know that we've heard a lot about. Now, when I go up to the north, listen, the north, you could go in a gazillion different ways up here, because it is a loaded bracket, okay? But I guess if you're asking me who my winner of the north is, I have to take Neshannock Valley. And I say that not in a confident way, but I kind of have that gut feeling that, the NJSGA is having their Public Links Championship there. We have a lot of people that follow and listen along that are huge Neshannock Valley people. So me being an analytics and a numbers guy, I look at that as part of the equation here. And I gotta think, as strong as Ballyowen is against them, potentially moving on. And listen, Neshannock Valley, like I just even said, may not even get out of the first round. But as the saying goes, to be the best, you got to beat the best. So if they can get out of their little bottom bracket down there, I think the only challenger, if they can move on after matchups early on, would be Rock Spring. I do think, again, Rock Spring is a very, very, very popular golf course. Very hard to get on, even though it's public. So again, that could be another potential, winner from the north. But I'm taking Neshannock Valley as my winner. And my sleeper, listen,
I feel like we'd have to talk about, take away some of these, like Darlington, Berkshire Valley, Mountain View. Those would be sleepers to me. Like, I don't know, like, could you call Rock Springs a sleeper? I have a tough time calling Skyway a sleeper. So
no, but I'll tell you, right, yeah, my sleeper is gonna be Highbridge Hills.
Okay,
I do. I think I've come across people that have brought that place up, that have mentioned it. And again, like you said, sleeper in terms of things that we haven't spoken about, hasn't come up a lot in dialogue. Like Skyway, like you said, it's high on our list. Rock Springs, high on our list. Heron Glen's on our list. Ballyowen, Neshannock Valley. So yes, like these places that people that listen and follow along have heard us say on repeat. So my sleeper is Highbridge Hills. And my winner of the North is Neshannock Valley that plays Ballamore in the finals. And I just think that Neshannock Valley carries too much weight for the audience that follows and listens along. That I think Neshannock Valley wins the first ever The Drop Podcast March Madness Bracket Challenge.
So I have less balls than you because I'm not going to fully and officially announce a winner yet until I start breaking down my brackets and we release them. But
you can cut that up. You can save it because when it happens, you're going to say, holy hell, maybe he's a psychic.
The one that I think Rock Spring has a tough first round with Architects, and then whoever they get in the second round. But then I do think they cruise after that. If Rock Spring can get out of the first, if they can get into the second weekend, I think Rock Spring is making it to the finals of the North. I think that to me is the course. Like if you look at those down south ones, like you say Highbridge Hills, like I think if you're saying Highbridge Hills is getting to the second weekend, I think that's a tougher one than the Tamarack, Mountain View, Darlington, Berkshire Valley that Rock Springs would have to get to. So I think if Rock Springs or whoever it is up there gets out of that top quadrant and that bottom quadrant of the North, I think the top quadrant has the easier second weekend.
Yeah, listen, it's going to be an exciting thing. I can't wait to see what people vote on beginning tomorrow. Because listen, I know you mentioned this before to other people that this time of the year is one of your favorite times of the year with March Madness. And I get it, the hoops thing, but now we can even toss a little golf in there too. I mean, God, I can only imagine what your life's going to be like from Thursday to Sunday, whether it's scrolling through Instagram, whether it's sitting on a couch watching a game. Like, man. Oh, God. Yeah, it's going to be wonderful. What a weekend for you.
Yeah.
What a weekend for you.
I know. Just do it. Real simple. Go vote. Starting tomorrow, Thursday. We need you to go vote. Get on there. Get on Instagram. The one course will be on top with its name. One course will be on the bottom. You click on the one. Pretty simple. And then, as I said, to start this, we'll announce it. And again, get out and vote. Show out for your course. Show out for your area. Show out for New Jersey golf. We need you out there and voting. Mike, the last time we talked, the PGA didn't announce the new stuff for next year yet. But since then, they've announced that they're going to have some events next year that are elevated with no cuts. And it got me thinking, on this show, we haven't officially given our thoughts on LIV yet and how the PGA Tour, I guess, is reacting to LIV. So I thought that we should take some time to do that. So I'll start. I'm not a LIV guy. I don't like the idea of where the money's coming from. I don't like that they poached people to defect over. I don't really like maybe it's not that I don't like it. I don't understand the format of the teams as much as some other people do. So that doesn't really, I'm a little wishy-washy on that. I'm not really interested in LIV. It's not doing it for me. The PGA Tour is the PGA Tour for a reason. The changes, however, I think have been good for the PGA Tour, and I think were needed. Again, given a base salary, quote-unquote salary, if you enter a tournament, you're getting $5,000 to be there. I think that getting some of these elevated tournaments where there's significantly more money, I think is needed. I think that some of those kind of things were good. The PGA Tour is going to have some no-cut events. And for me, that's becoming a little too livey, and I'm not a huge fan of. It's not, again, I'm pro PGA Tour, and I like that they made some of those other changes, again, getting money to players and that sort of thing. But the no-cut events are a little, I don't know. At first glance, I don't really like them. So those are kind of some of my initial thoughts here. What are some initial thoughts?
So, I guess my point with the whole thing is, like, listen, I'm not a big fan of kind of LIV's thing. I guess there is some part of me that is a traditionalist with the, golf is 72 holes. And the 54-hole thing just doesn't interest me. I get it that they're trying to emulate a lot of things that, F1's doing with the team type stuff. But for me, it's just not my cup of tea. Like, it's not, the guys that are on there were very drama-centric guys, and I know that we all dive deep into that. We all like the drama. We live for the drama. But, no offense, when Brooks is going out there and not making cuts out on the Asian tour, it's kind of like, well, really, is he even playing that well? And I think it showed in that Netflix series that, like, Brooks is a guy that needs that motivation and competition day in and day out. And I think when things are a little stagnant, it shows that he just doesn't have it. So to me, like, I'm not into the live stuff. I don't even know if there's times I know who wins or when they play or where they play. But when it comes to the PGA Tour and some of the changes they made, listen, I know that they're controversial in some of them in terms of what they're doing and how they're doing it. And like you said, it can mirror a little bit of what LIV is doing to some extent. Do I like the only thing I guess I have a hard time, like yourself, is the cut thing. Like, I'm okay with paying them more money, and I'm okay with designated events and things like that. I'm fine with it because, like a lot of things in life, it's a meritocracy. Like, you work hard, you're one of the best in your business or your craft, you get paid the most money. I mean, if you don't like that, I get it, but guess what? My response to you is go work harder, go grind more, go figure it out. So there's like a reason why Rory's top 3 in the world. Like, we had this discussion a couple weeks ago when we were talking about a guy like Joel Damon. Like, he clearly just doesn't want it as bad as a guy like Rory McIlroy. It's that simple. So, like, why should I be appealing to what Joel Damon does? Because, no offense, we're not turning on the TV to watch Joel Damon down the stretch. But if Rory's playing, we're all glued to the TV. So to me, like, I get it. The no-cut events may be the one dicey thing. But in terms of the payouts, like, or designated events, like, I want to watch the best guys play come down the stretch on Sunday. So, I mean, I'm not against it. I'm not against the changes. Anytime that we can get the best golfers in the world on the same course, playing more against each other, I'm all for. So whatever that entails, I support. And if you don't like that, because you may be James Hahn of the world, my solution, go play better. Go play better. And I know some people may not like that, but kind of how the world operates, isn't it?
Yeah. So moving into this week, the PGA Championship was this weekend, and I was glued to it, Mike. It was on all weekend in my house, and even if it was just background noise while I was cleaning the dishes or whatever, but that course showed as well as a golf course could. I guess I've just never really thought about it. It was stunningly beautiful. Really amazing views. It was nice to see a guy like Tom Hoge attack the course on Saturday, and it was fire to 62 was playing some golf, especially for a guy that had to make the cut in the morning. He talked in his interview about how he was scheduling plane rides to leave that day. Like,
he shot 78 in the first round.
And he was
62 yet round 3.
Right, he was. I think going into Sunday he was 6 under. And he went 10 under on Saturday. I mean, it was just crazy. So
listen, to piggyback that real quick, and not only a guy like Tom Hoge doing it how he did it in front of Justin Thomas and Shane Lowry. So it wasn't like he was playing like with 2 journeymen who don't know what the hell they're doing either. Like, he's playing with 2 big time names in a game of golf.
Again, when we're recording this, we don't have the winner yet. But it looks like it's going to be a great Sunday. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. It looks like it's going to be a great finishing here with some guys chunked at the top of the leaderboard. So maybe we could do a little bit more of a recap next week. But I do want to give a shout out to Brian, who runs the account From the Drop Zone. He's got a blog. He got to play TPC Sawgrass and talks about his experience there. So if you haven't, go give Brian a follow at From the Drop Zone on Instagram. He's got a post to his blog up there, and certainly worth a read. Give a little bit more insight from someone who's played it if you haven't played it yet. I think it's pretty cool. Brian's also running a golf tournament. It's at Neshannock. It's the first year, the inaugural Parkway Playoff. If you haven't heard or you're interested in playing in something, he's trying to do a little Ryder Cup style New Jersey golf thing. Again, it's on his Instagram page, From the Drop Zone. Go give it a follow. Go check it out. Certainly going to be a fun event that he's got hosted there. So
yeah, I mean, listen, it's first off, it's at a golf course that who wouldn't want to go play. Okay, so first of all, it's at. Second, it's an opportunity for people in New Jersey all to get together to network, socialize, get to know each other a little better. It's a little 18-hole competition. It's in North Jersey versus South Jersey, again, based on who signs up. It's 9 holes of scramble. It's 9 holes of a 4-ball. He has a couple contests with closest to the pin. And everything will take place on Saturday, May 13th. So I know registration is open. I know that it's not filled, so there's plenty of opportunities. And I know it costs $125 to participate. You get 18 holes of golf. You get a cart, live scoring, awards for the winners. You get a tee gift. So listen, it's going to be an exciting day for everybody in the state to kind of get together, to go out and play. So again, as Ryan said, go check him out. His name is Brian. He runs the account From the Drop Zone. Good dude. Go give him a follow.
All right, that's all for us today. As I started the pod with, we got Dottie Pepper on. I think Dottie speaks for herself. She's a huge name in the world of golf, not just women's golf, but again, she was up for the World Golf Hall of Fame. This was her 3rd time on the ballot. This is not a small get for us. So make sure you stay tuned, give it a listen, and enjoy. See you next week.
Dr. Mike Pomacala at Sports Solutions Physical Therapy and Performance Development is located in Middletown, New Jersey. A Titleist Performance Institute medical practitioner, Dr. Mike uses a hands-on approach with his clients to get them out of pain and back onto the golf course. No pain, no problem. Assessments are available for golfers looking to improve flexibility, power, strength, stability, and overall efficiency with their golf swing. Don't let dysfunction disrupt your swing. Schedule an evaluation with a TPI physical therapist and check out Dr. Mike at sportsolutionspt.com and on Instagram at sportsolutionspt. Okay, so today's guest, I mean, man, we lucky to have someone like this on. We have none other than the CBS lead on-course reporter, Dottie Pepper. 17 official victories on the LPGA Tour, 2 majors, a finalist for the World Golf Hall of Fame that just came out a few weeks ago. And, we're fingers crossed that next week, or this coming week, I should say, when the announcement comes, that her name is on that list. So for us, it's a perfect time and a lucky time for us to have someone like this on here. So, Dottie, thank you so much for giving us a few minutes of your time today.
I look forward to kind of going through your hit list, but yeah, thank you for the introduction as well. This will be fun.
I mean, I have so many questions for someone like you, and I think one of the things that Ryan and I have started to dabble more into is more on the LPGA Tour, in terms of they've had so many events here in New Jersey specifically that we've been fortunate to connect with some of their communications directors and some of their tournament hosts about getting to events, specifically in conversations to get up to Upper Montclair for the Cognizant Founders Cup, so that we can give everybody an opportunity and even a platform, not only for us to showcase the good golf courses here in New Jersey, but also to connect with some people that may not get the platforms that some of the guys do. So, we're excited about that as well on our end.
Well, it's a particularly powerful time for women in New Jersey on the LPGA schedule this year, in and around the Met section in general. Just a variety of amazing golf courses, and their time has come, and to have Cognizant event, Michelle Wee's event at Liberty National. You've got the women's PGA at Baltusrol.
You got the shop right at Seaview.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the hits go on and on. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I think that Ryan and I have mentioned. It's nice to see at least the LPGA Tour is taking advantage of the amazing golf that we do have here, because on the men's side, they kind of dabble in and out, but it's nice to see that the ladies have made it more or less a home in terms of their tour and their events.
Yeah, I mean that was even when I was playing, there was always a consistent representation of the state of New Jersey on the schedule, and I think going back to maybe the Golden Lights Championship, and then had the event at Hamilton Farms, and the USGA has been very good about bringing women's championships as well. There's been Curtis Cups at Somerset Hills. I played in a girls' junior there. It's women's opens that have rolled through at Plainfield, and it's just it's I would say, speaking the USGA terms right now, it's become an anchor.
Yeah, and honestly, for people like us, rightfully so,
Yeah.
because I think we've said it multiple times. The courses and the venues that we have here in the state are just second to none. But let's get a little bit into you and your background. Obviously, before I dive deep into the book, I do kind of want to put this out there to the audience that, if you don't know, Dottie has written a book called Letters to a Future Champion, My Time with Mr. Pulver. If you head over to dottiepepper.net, you can get the book there. You can read it. And I can't lie, some of the stories that you told in there from your beginning to the end in terms of your LPGA Tour career and just talking to Mr. Pulver are unbelievable. And I truly said this to Ryan after I was fortunate to connect with you, and then I listened to the book. I listened to it for 5 straight hours in my drives back and forth to work. And I think having what I like to refer to people like that as like wise old owls, just willing
That's good. I
to,
like that. Yeah.
just willing to like give you their time and wisdom, I think goes a long way. So like, why don't you tell us a little bit again for the audience to kind of hear your story? Some of the story, listen, I got notes here. I got notes upon notes from the book that I just was taking, listening. I thought was just amazing. But why don't you give a little bit of the audience your background?
Well, you just pitched my book better than I possibly could. So well. But it was, from the 30,000-foot level, it was my COVID project, trying to do something positive in a pretty negative space of time. And I mean, you guys know, New Jersey, New York, they shut us down pretty hard and locked us down for a very long time. So it was my goal was to come out with an immune system that was better, and do something. The idea about doing a book had been percolating for a while, but when your husband's a golf historian and you kind of take what he says about the potential for all this content and the way it could be put together, and you just kind of go, yeah, right, whatever, you're very biased. Well, then I had the time. So it was, putting a new router in the basement and coming up with a format, a plan to try to share these letters that my teacher shared with me, because it wasn't a relationship that was just about golf, and it wasn't a relationship that was just on the practice tee or sort of downloads after competitive successes or failures. This was a relationship between a type A overachieving youngster that didn't have a whole lot of resources and a retired PGA professional who had just lost his wife, and it literally did from soup to nuts what any PGA professional has done through the course of that great job and beyond. So Mr. Pulver was not only just a teacher, but a very, very good player, an architect, an agronomist, club maker, you name it. He did it, and did it with the greats of the game, and influenced people in the game. So, I was it dumb luck? Was it, I don't know, a greater hand on my shoulder saying, this is your plan? I don't know, but our paths collided until he passed in 1986. And I had this compilation of all of these letters that he had written me. And when I started going through a lot of the things that his family had left me after he passed, including books and articles and newspaper clippings, all that, I realized that he had saved every letter that I wrote to him. So cue the flood. And yeah. Doing something really, really impactful, and something that can be shared, hopefully in a pretty evergreen manner. And it was it's a relationship that's still continued, because I hear from his daughter Madeline, the only one left now, on a very regular basis, and she still does for me what he did for me, with sending me clippings and things I need to be reading. So she's my source from the Washington Post that are all things LIVGolf and women, anything golf wise, she's clipping it out, and anything sport and modern society, she's clipping it out and sending to me, and they're in my mailbox. So delivered in the same manner that her dad delivered the messages that I got and continue to use every day that I'm in the game.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Ryan.
I was just going to say, that's so sweet. Everybody needs that, like Mike said, that wise old owl to kind of, they've been through a whole lot of stuff. They need someone to be there for them. That's sweet that you would keep his letters, but maybe even sweeter that he would keep yours too. That's a nice thing to hear.
Yeah, I think by the time you go through the whole relationship with the family, I think I became their fourth kid, really. And I just happened to be in Saratoga, and his other kids were gone. So I may have been much younger. I mean, my dad played Little League baseball with George Pulver Jr. So there's certainly an age gap, but I think it fit the time of his life, and it certainly, to my great blessing, fit that time in my life as well.
I mean, listen, I could probably talk to you end on end about the book in terms of my notes here. But I guess what I always liked or kind of had a question, my question was like the why. He always would put at the end of the letters, like, no response needed. And I always laughed at that because I'm always like, well, what if you did have a response or you had a question about something? And he'd always phrase it as that last P.S., and then P.S., tell mom and dad I said hello.
Yeah,
like,
no reply expected or no reply necessary.
Yeah, and to me, it's perfect because it always is like, you think about like the older generation, like I can see my grandfather saying that. Like, yes. Don't need a response, Mike, but tell mom and dad I said hello. Yeah. It's so perfect.
It sounds like a conversation we would have in person, yes.
Yeah. And it always amazed me that it would always end it that way, but like, I guess, why not have a response?
Well, I guess I did because he had all those letters that I wrote back. So I didn't follow directions then, and I don't do it now.
That always stood out to me as always like the caveat to like when I'm listening to the letter being read, I'm like, there he goes. Like, I know what's next. I'm not even involved, but I know what's next. I thought that was comical. And I think one of the things that always stood out to me about listening to the book, and I'm a listener in terms of books. I don't get to read them as much unless it's the summertime. But I always liked how he said, and I think this is important for junior golfers, boys and girls that listen to us, and they, will get random DMs from high school kids or college kids. But I think one of the things that he always said is like, dominate your area. Like, dominate close. There's no reason for you, if you can't win in that 300, I think I remember correctly, my notes say, the 300 miles within your home. If it's not in that area, there's no need for you to step outside. Like, dominate home. And I thought that resonated big time.
Yeah, and I think you can extrapolate that out to what you would say win at every level too. So if you're playing Pee Wee golf, if you're playing junior golf, if you are playing Little League, I don't think it's just golf centric either. I think look, there's a lot of money in youth sports. He would cringe at what has happened to youth sports right now because he would see it as a sacrifice of a childhood and not giving kids a chance to be fully rounded by the time they have to really dig in and do I really love this? Do I have what it takes to play at the level that maybe get a college scholarship?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think he would really be disturbed by a lot of it because he believed that the whole person was going to be one that would stay in the game and do other better, bigger things than just hit a golf ball. And I think a lot of his letters talk to that, about being curious about other things, about stepping away from the game when you felt like you were getting a little crispy. When, he would encourage me, as you read in the letters, just go to the pool, go with your friends. This is not a physical thing. You're mentally fried. Go leave it away for a while. And I think there's such a push now that you see people, when they leave it, they really leave it. You have people that's they hit their last college golf ball and they're never going back to hit anymore again. So I think it was a cautionary tale from him that the game has so much to give for so long, that don't burn it so hard that you can't be in the game for a really long time.
I think that's so important. Like you said, with youth sports these days, like there's so much of the specialization. And quite frankly, I feel like more injuries happen from there, like because you're not working the other muscles that doing something like throwing a baseball or catching a pass for a football or whatever else you might be doing. builds those other muscles that need to be the contradiction to what you're typically doing.
Yeah, so two things on that. You'll notice in the book he tells me, because I'm right hand dominant, he would tell me to do the simple things during the day left-handed, so that it built that balance, so that it wouldn't be a repetitive overuse injuries. It just build balance in your whole physical being. But I think too, there's something to be said for the multi-sport athlete that also not mixes just individual sports, but also team sports. My dad played baseball at the highest level. He was, he played Major League Baseball for the Detroit Tigers, but he also he was a phenomenal skier, but he was a speed skater as well, and played basketball. So there was, so there was this beautiful blend. Unfortunately, my dad came through most of it, and I think the worst he got beat up in baseball was when somebody spiked him coming hard at first base, and his foot happened to be on the base, and the old cleat went right through. So there's I think there's just lots of lessons that when you put money in the sphere and youth sports in it, boy, some things, they just get kind of wonky, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think even just by, and I say this because even as a golfer who loves to be competitive and try to be as good as I can, like, I was not even involved in what you had gone through. And I have notes and like tips about like start back slowly. I felt like that was something that he reiterated so often. And when you think often, and a lot of the letters that I've listened to, or like simply like left hip to the target, like I feel like a lot of things that he said can resonate with so many golfers as is. Forget about someone like Dottie Pepper, who's on a completely other level than Ryan and I. But like, even not taking those lessons with him, like there's so much like valuable nuggets that you can grab and steal from him and then apply in your own golf game.
I hope it's that way, because I look at guys on the PGA Tour now, especially, we've seen a lot of Max Homa lately, and I see a lot of things that Mr. Pulver talked about in the way Max Homa approaches the game, the way he swings the golf club. And his tempo is phenomenal, and it's slow on the way back. He's never in a hurry to deliver the change of direction. He definitely leads with his left hip down. And if you watch him before a round, he's hitting all those different shots that Mr. Pulver talks about, not being able to just hit one shot in practice. So you keep it fresh, and that whatever you come across in competition, you've already done in practice. So it's pretty classic case of, a guy. Max Homa hasn't read my book, but I see.
Oh, you don't know that. You don't know that.
No, you're right. I don't know that, but I would be willing to put a pretty good chunk of change on that.
He's active on Twitter. Let's ask him.
That's right. I'll give you the book. You see things that he talked about. I see trigger my recall in players of today.
Yeah, I mean, and I love the fact he never canceled. You guys were, he was always out there.
We hit balls in some bad weather. And you see him
but that's good.
No, reminding me,
that's great preparation.
Totally, because we don't play golf in a dome. And he reminded me, getting to the tee unhurried, and to be sure you understood that the golf ball's not going to fly as hard or fly as far when it was cold, and your muscles are probably going to be not as warm and limber. So taking all of that and putting into the computer. And one of the ones I loved was, do you have a good umbrella? Do you have an extra towel? All of those things, because you don't want Mother Nature being the one that casts the die. You want to be able to control the things that you can control. And your preparation, according to him, was one of the things you could absolutely control.
Yeah, and listen, I like I said, I probably could keep grilling you about the book itself, because I think for the audience, I think no matter what, like, go listen to the book, go read the book. I kid you not, it is unbelievable. And I sit here, I swear, I could probably just continue from the beginning to the end about like how you were a sponge and how your sister caddied for you, and how, Mr. Pulver took you on 4 days before his wife passed. Like, the book is an unbelievable read. And for any like golf diehard that, Ryan and I connect with, like, go check the book out. Go read the book. It is, I can't lie, like a truly great
we
read.
had there were lots of learning curve stuff going on to self-publish a book, because you had all of you have to make a lot of decisions when you're going to do a book, and one of them is the design element, right down to the font, the weight of paper you use. And I kept coming back to, after been given all of not all of his golf library, but so much of it, what were the books that he definitely, I saw marked up most in the margins? What were the feel and look of those books? And they were heavier paper. They had a simple font. They were done in a darkish gray. So I tried to make those sorts of decisions based on what I knew he liked in those books, and it needed to feel good. And the thing that I will never ever forget is the big truck coming up with the first shipment, and there were 750 hardcovers in the leather bound combo. There was 250 of those, so that's 500 books. So 1,250 books coming out of this off this truck. And the next thing I'll never forget is opening the first box and the smell. It smelled good. So those are the things that I thought he would have appreciated.
That's so cool that you had that much forethought into it. That's awesome to hear. That's really cool.
I had a wonderful editor that was actually set up. The connection with him was actually set up by the middle daughter of the Pulver kids. She's still alive, still living in and around DC, the one that sends me all the clippings. So she had a friend who published with this company, did a self-published project. The editor, I pitched it to the editor, and he said, normally I would send this on to someone else in the company. He said, but I want to do this. So he asked me the right questions so I could make the right decisions, because he was into the project probably as much as I was.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
That's so cool.
So let's dive into a little bit like of today. But Rye, I want to throw this interesting tidbit out there. So Dottie won the ShopRite LPGA Classic. Do you know where she won it?
Was it? I mean, it's at Seaview.
It was not.
Was it on the Pines?
It was not at the time.
Oh,
So
I didn't know that.
I did some research, but I did see that when they started the tournament, it was at Seaview. But then it switched over to Sands and then went to Great Bay, and Dottie won it in '96 at Great Bay, 2 years before it went over to Seaview, where it is now.
Right. Okay. It was definitely weather impacted. It was about the time I realized I needed to ditch my contact lenses and get my eyes lasered, because we were finishing late. And whatever reason, the flat light was always a real problem with contact lenses for me at the end of the day. So that win in '96 was instrumental to 3 years later, after chickening out twice, to getting my eyes done. But it was also a really important week, because I had pulled the plug on my season in '96. About a month earlier, I was hitting it BAD. I mean, no confidence. It's time to go home and find it in the dirt and hit balls to your hands bleed kind of thing. And I did just that. And I had won in Rochester the week prior, and then came down to New Jersey and won ShopRite there as daylight was definitely waning that Sunday afternoon. And my godmother was actually in the gallery. Now we have a picture. I got the trophy was given. The presentation was in the media room because there was no daylight.
Was it that late because was there a weather delay or slow play?
No, it was weather. And the great thing was I was traveling with my dog most of the time, and we were staying in the Residence Inn right across the street. So I was able to go straight across the street, get my feet up, get away from golf, get him walked real quick before we had to go back and resume play. And it worked out famously.
That's awesome.
I saw that, and I was like, that's a great trivia question, Ryan, because I knew that everybody would instantly say Seaview, but I had to toss it out there. I had to toss it in there. So let's talk about like what you do today, because as being golf fiends that we are, like I listen, I watch, I hear the calls. Like, what's it like being on the course with these men and women like that are just so good? like, because I always say, like, golf is so hard. And when you get to see these guys out there, like, what is that like?
Fortunately, in my position, I see mostly really good golf. Now, I've seen some pretty bad golf late on Sundays or late on Saturdays in that last group, but by and large, where I am now, being the last walker, I see a lot of really good golf. I think it's cooler because you realize you're seeing nearly perfect golf in an imperfect game, and that you see a lot of really amazing shots under extreme pressure. But I also think I wouldn't trade my job. I wouldn't trade my job with Jim Nantz. I mean, I actually get to live. I mean, I can feel it. I can touch it. I can smell it. It's all right there in front of me. I'm not locked away in a tower. So I think it's about the best job. Now, you know, when it's blowing 25 and pouring down rain, I might. But by and large, I think I've got about the coolest job there is in all the game. But it's interesting to see some players that you know are going to thrive on it. If you've been to the range and things don't seem quite right, or in the instance where Hideki won at in Akron at Firestone a few years back, I watched him hit balls. I didn't think the guy was going to break 80, and he went out and shot 63 or 64, but it was absolutely masterful. So, you know, you can take it for a grain of salt. You know, and Mr. Pulver did say that in the book that, you know, sometimes that warm up is just not indicative of what the day's going to look like. So don't freak out about it.
Mike and I were both basketball players, and I can tell you the same thing. A lot of times pregame, if I wasn't shooting well, it usually turned into a pretty good game for me.
Yeah, my mother, when I played match play as a kid, she was always very anxious when I won the first hole. So there you go.
Interesting.
Out of the box strong. She wasn't exactly sold on the fact that the day was going to end
If you want to watch some bad golf, we can go out and play sometime, and I can help you out with that.
I can go put a video on my own swing right now and watch some bad golf.
I doubt that. We can send you a video. We'll send you a video of what a bad swing looks like. But I mean, the stretch that you guys were able to get out there on the West Coast, some of the finishes. I mean, again, I'm that guy sitting on the couch, just like, oh my God, can you believe this? Or it's just like Jon Rahm, for example, was an absolute monster.
Yeah. So I mean, you think about the winners that we had. So, you know, Rahm's coming off 2 wins. By the time we get to San Diego, Homa comes screaming from behind on Saturday, because we finished there because of the AFC Championship at Torrey Pines, and then we go to Pebble, or 2 weeks. I'm sorry. We went to Pebble. We got to spend another day at Pebble. Bummer. A great finish there. We got Scotty Scheffler to finish at the top of the leaderboard again in Phoenix. Rahm's right there in the last group, and then Rahm comes through again at Riviera, and Tiger's part of the story going into the weekend. He's actually got a tee time. So yeah, it was pretty remarkable. And I think, scary to say, I don't think Rahm has played his best golf yet.
Wow.
He hasn't driven the golf ball like I know he can drive the golf ball yet. His iron play has been spectacular. His putting has been, every putt he's needed to make, he made to continue momentum and then just go on the tear, be in position to really go on a tear. I don't think he's driven the golf ball yet to match up with those 2 parts of his game.
Can we get a story of yours on course that resonates more so than maybe other stories that you can just think back about your career? Like, when I covered this one, it was like, oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you a COVID story about it. It was Jon Rahm at the Memorial. When after 54 holes, he had whatever the 5-shot lead or something like that. And I'm on my way back. I'm actually in the cart on my way back up the 18th fairway. We just wiggle inside, so because there were people around then. So we were allowed a few fans, I think, of maybe limited access in 21. And there's a monitor that's with me the whole time. And I look over it and I'm hearing us go off the air. And then I'm looking at Jon Rahm and something doesn't seem right. So I opened up the talk back to the producer and I said, Sellers, something's not right. Do you want me to go back up there? And he said, yes, get your butt back up to scoring. Well, they won't let me in scoring because it's a closed situation with the PGA Tour and their COVID policies. But starting with COVID, I, for the first time, got an iPhone watch. And I hate it because I think it's just a little too much that, like, the big brother thing knows where you are all the time. But I wore it then because I was getting information. You couldn't have people with you and around you, so you're getting information from the trucks via text message. So I've got this phone, and my phone goes off. I couldn't even tell you what the phone number is to my iPhone watch, but the whole system with the data worked, and that phone rang. And I saw it was Laura Neal, who is the head of communications for the PGA Tour. Well, she came up through the LPGA at the same time I did. And I said, I'm thinking to myself, I guess I better answer this. So Laura, what is it? And she goes, John Rahm just tested positive for COVID. He's going to be withdrawn from the tournament. I said, can I go with that live on the air? She said, absolutely. So I opened myself up live on the air and ran with that. And it was, it took me a while to get to bed that night because it was such a big deal at that time. When someone tests positive in the middle of a tournament, they're automatically withdrawn. There's no chance. I guess they did take a second sample, but there was no question that he had tested positive. And it was just, you go through these hits of adrenaline, and then when it evacuates your body, it's just, there's nothing left.
Yeah, that's crazy. I remember that. I do, and that was one of those unfortunate things that you're like, you got to put an asterisk next to this.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy was rolling. He was rolling. Clearly, was on pace. Yeah. Someone at his level is not going to blow up.
No,
well, I shouldn't say. Yeah.
Five-shot lead. He's not shooting worse than 72 that next day.
Unless someone goes extremely low.
I think so, right? So yeah, those are those kind of things that your instincts go one direction, and then your brain is telling you slow down, so you can process this, and then you have to make the decision to go or not. And it was definitely a go situation for sure.
Yeah. Dottie, over the course of your career, again, you had a successful playing career and now commentating career. I don't know if you consider yourself this way, but I would call you a pioneer in both women's golf, as both a commentator and as a player. Do you feel like your contributions to golf are more important in one of those? And maybe not more important is maybe not the right way to put it, but like, do you have a feeling either way of like, I've made a bigger impact in this or that?
I don't think so, but I would say if I could, at the end of my time doing this, and certainly my time as a player has passed, if I could have emulated or copied or had some of the impact that Judy Rankin had as a player and as a commentator, then I've been one lucky son of a gun to have played that many years on tour. Now that I've been in television talking about golf longer than I played as a professional on tour. This is that I'm just coming. Well, it'll be coming up on 20 years here quickly. That happened fast. So I don't.
Time is a real SOB, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. The Bentley doesn't start up quite as quickly as it used to.
And again, going back to your book, she was your mentor.
She was definitely one of my mentors. No question about it. And a very good mentor. Yes, absolutely. And continues to be.
Mm-hmm. And so now, like, looking ahead, Augusta's right around the corner. Like, when you step foot on Augusta, for someone, obviously, two guys that have never been there, but we can see the colors from the TV screen, like, give us a little bit of what that's like.
It's almost a little too perfect at times, just because the colors are so consistent. And then there's these big pops of a lot of pink, a little bit of yellow, and then there's this one particular dogwood that's out there, or an azalea. It's an azalea that's down buried behind the second hole. That's bright orange, and it doesn't have a soft petal. It's almost like a firecracker. So those are the things I like looking around to see. We all know that they have, every hole has its name, but when you get down in those particular corners of the golf course, there's some pretty amazing things that you can't see from a camera. And that I always make sure at some point during the week I go down to the left of number 2, because those azaleas are there and they're so different. And there's also going over to the par 3. There, behind 9, there's a bank coming up to the cabins, and it looks like a veil of soft yellow, and they're called Lady Banks roses, and they're just magnificent. So those are the things of the pressure cooker or the Masters that I take a little time and make sure I pay attention to those things, because in a lot of ways that's the uniqueness of Augusta National for me. That and the brutal walk that it is. It's the hardest walk of the year, only, and I think right behind that is Muirfield Village, but it's a brutal walk, so you might as well look at something really cool while you're doing it.
That's great advice, because how many times are you told, like, for your wedding, like, make sure you take time to step back and absorb the whole situation. Sure. It's nice that you take a second to literally stop and smell the roses.
Yeah, I mean, and the left side of 10, the bank, I mean, there's a wall of camellias, and if the bloom is just right, it's just ridiculous that you wouldn't take the chance to just separate yourself for just a smidge.
Who do you think wins?
If Rahm drives it, I think it's hard to take that away. But Jordan Spieth is coming into his own, and if Jordan can putt a little bit and get by the demons at 12, you could have another green jacket on his shoulders as well.
There you go. There's Dottie Pepper's pick. Dottie, and we're going to make sure we get this episode out before the Masters even hits. So when he wins, we can say, listen, Dottie Pepper said that. She told you guys.
Dottie knows
her
stuff. Go
get this. Yep. It's crazy. I don't want to keep any more of your time, because obviously I know you got stuff going on and there's only 2 minutes left in the Zoom. But quickly, like, the World Golf Hall of Fame, what was that like, seeing your name on that as a finalist? Because I think you deserve it. I do.
So I'm going to say that I hate that word, deserve. I hope I've earned my spot onto the ballot. But this is the third time around, so maybe it's the third time's the charm.
Love that.
Yes, it is.
There you go.
And it's not, I would say it's not that it would change my life for one bit. It wouldn't. But I don't like to lose.
That's why. Third time's a charm. It's happening. It's happening. When I saw that come out, when I saw that was tweeted out, I'm like, oh, man. It is perfect timing. We're going to get her on, and next week it's going to happen, and it's going to be like perfect.
Well,
Love it.
My crazy friends are already planning, so I'm taking my hands off those wheels, but they're talking fingers and
the announcement's next week.
I think it's
correct.
I think it's actually Monday.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
Well, best of luck, Dottie. We're pulling for you.
Thanks, you guys.
Yeah, and I can't thank you enough for being an unbelievable person and coming on here, giving us some time. So, again, I'll continue to push your book. I greatly appreciate everything.
Thanks. I enjoyed this chat. Love it.
Thank you very much, Dottie. I appreciate it.
Take care, Dottie.